manufacturers, but how do each company survive? How do they create the new variants, new value creations for customers? We'll talk about it. So there is a lot of competition everywhere, and even under that conditions, how these companies survive. Okay, so only the companies which will survive, either they are innovative or they are thinking different, and they are implementing a couple of different things. Okay, we'll talk about on other slides. And the customers wants also have changed. The previously, if you see 50 years back or 40 years back, customers wanted maybe only a black car. Okay, but now I or many people want the color they want, actually mera wala color or the way I want it. So things have changed extensively over the years. Choices are more. So to meet those requirements, every organization has to work to make sure that they are meeting the customer's expectations. And then with all of that, suppliers have to have a solid, robust plan to meet the organization's requirements or the customer's requirements. So there are challenges for them also. So with all these kind of things, there has to be a solid traceability of whatever happens, either in the companies or in the suppliers who is supplying what product to an organization, or organization is supplying to end customers. Extensive traceability has to be there, either is for quality purpose or for compliance purpose. And compliance, every organization or society or country goes through a lot of compliances. Either each country has their own compliances, either it's for data protection policy or labor works policy, or for everything, the way you drive a vehicle on a car on a road. So those compliances has to be met, otherwise things will go chaos, right? So we have seen recently in our lockdown conditions how the each state or country or each city was putting together all the policies and control mechanisms. So those compliances are needs to be followed. So again, stakeholder expectations. It's like every organization, society has a different stakeholders. Either it's employees, investors, bankers, your customers, and suppliers. There are very varieties of these kind of stakeholders. You have to meet those expectations. So each organization or country goes through all kind of these kind of challenges. How do they manage these kind of things? Okay, so let's look at there is something called VUCA world. There is a, each one is explained nicely there. There's a extensive volatility in the market. There's a lot of uncertainty. Many of us have gone through during this COVID-19 situation. uh, People didn't know that the next week will be lockdown will be over or not. If it is lockdown over, how do I go out? How do I meet people? How do my company restart? So there is a lot of uncertainty. And then these kind of things, there is ambiguity. Okay, so these kind of things are there, and every organization has to really look into this one and plan their future course of actions. Okay, and this is applicable even for a society as well as for countries also. So just to give a brief background about how some of the companies which did not really look into these challenges, or they really did not look into this VUCA parameters, and how they miserably failed. Either it's a BlackBerry, many of you know, Nokia, which was very famous phone company, right, in the world, but now they are nowhere. Okay, Blockbuster, which is like one of the most famous video renting company in US, but that doesn't even exist now because things have changed. Either some other companies have transformed and they got the new products in a innovative way, and then I'll just take example of Netflix against the Blockbuster. The Netflix came into complete digital transformation. They changed the way that you view the movie or the content on the internet. Even during this COVID-19 situations, many of the countries, when they were lockdown, people could see the movies sitting at their home or at their sofas, right? You don't have to go to a movie theater. Kodak, which is one of the most famous camera company, film company, that doesn't even exist now today because they did not transform. They did not really look into what are the things are coming up. They were the first to design the digital camera, but the company did not take it forward. And then there is another example. I'm trying to give examples of a different different environment or different industries. Playboy magazine, which is one of the most famous in 60s, 70s, and 80s and 90s, paper format. Now that doesn't exist now. Their market is now less than 1%, 2%, because the content has changed, completely digital format, right? So whatever companies or societies, if they do not, or even the countries, if they do not get transformed into digital format, they will not exist. Okay, so some of this, there are many companies. I'm just taking 4 or 5 companies for your discussion purpose. Then how does a country or a society or a country does a transform? One is they have to be innovative. If they are not innovative, they will be dead. The companies which were 10 years back, out of top 500 companies, there are many companies doesn't even exist today. So like that, they need to be innovative, and they will have to change according to the market conditions. If they do not, they will perish. Okay, and there is something called white spaces where each company or society or country will have to find out what is that they can do different in a same thing in a different format, or what are the adjacencies where they can look at it, use the existing one and create a different products. Okay, so now digital is the way. If any company or country doesn't go into digital way, they will not exist. Okay, so we'll look into some of the additional how they need to transform into digital transformations on couple of next slides. And whatever questions you have, please feel free to write down. At the end of session, we have a good amount of time for question answers. Okay, so for digital transformation, what is that is the core principle of that. One is anytime, right? The content has to be available anytime, 24/7, 365 days. Uh, Look at the paper format newspaper. If it is there in only one place with one person at his house or at his office. But as soon as it is in a digital format, any person can access that one anywhere. Doesn't matter either he's sitting in beach, or doesn't matter that person, either that person is a rich or poor or middle class. Anyone can access any place. So these three A principle will have to look into it anytime. That content should be available, or information should be available any place and anybody. So these three A's, when they look at it, things will definitely will change. So digital, if you really look at it, some of the examples which I talked about, Blockbuster and Netflix or Hotstars, which are the ways now things have changed drastically in last 5 years. And then now they have closed down a couple of other companies. Now look at the Amazon, how it was. It was just a small garage operated bookshop to the world's biggest platform now for digital content, and you can order it. You can look at their Amazon Prime, either music, videos, anything like that. Even in education sector, there's a lot of like in India we have like a Baiju, or many of these they have come out now. And in this coronavirus situations, many schools are doing a digital online teaching now. They will have to move that way because they don't know exactly how this lockdown is going to impact their schools and the students environment. So many schools are moving towards that digital format. Okay, and they will have to transform. Banking sectors, look at this. In last 10 years, I have personally not gone to any bank to do my any transactions. Everything I'm doing it online, right? So if you really look at all these, things are transformed digitally, no doubt, but there's still a lot to do in many areas. Okay, and you have to always look into see that how it is helping to your customers, to your other stakeholders, either it could be suppliers or for your employees also. So in all aspects, we have to look at all of this. Then how it is done actually, right? How one is always look into the opportunities. It could be in your organization, could be in your where you do a study, or could be in your society. I will just give one small example. Like during this coronavirus situation, our society was facing a challenge. It's a large society of like 400 family members. They need vegetables. They need a lot of other basic things to survive. Vegetable vendors we contacted, and then he was supplying on a daily basis, but he could not scale it up. There were a lot of challenges for social distancing and all that. So we helped him to create a Google Forms online. We allowed him to put all the rates for each of those whatever supplies he has, and then each person can order it online, and then it will deliver to their doorstep, and the payment is done online. So automatically he could supply the essentials to each house as and when it is required, and then he could supply to a lot of other areas also. So that is how the digital transformation we could bring in to one of the person who is supplying the smallest things in a society, right? So challenge the status quo. Every time you need to challenge uh, the situation. Either it could be within your organization or in your education sector or wherever it is, and then think that how it can be done digitally. Every time that needs to be thought it, and then take it forward. We'll talk about SWOT analysis. Every organization or even a person also has to do a SWOT analysis. What does SWOT means? Like, one is strength, weakness, opportunities, and threats. It could be for a person also, for a organization, or for a country also. These four parameters should be looked into it. BlackBerry did not do a SWOT analysis for their products. Who are their threats? They did not look into how the Android is going to change the complete structure of the mobile industry. Okay, so like that kind of things. Then the tools comes in the last. Okay, but the mindset has to be there, that we need to change. And then how do we change? How do we make sure that how are we addressing the customers' requirements? What are their tastes? What they like it? As long as if these things analysis is not done, we will never be able to take it forward. To do all these kind of analysis, we always need in a digital format. If it is in a paper format, it's very difficult to do analysis and all that kind of things. Then the benefits, right? If you really look into this one, faster response to customers, then automatically things will change, right? The customers will start liking it. Oh, okay, when I order something, I get it within one day, within few hours, right? So faster response to customers is very important. Then operational efficiencies will bring in, if when you do a digital transformation, doesn't matter either at a supplier's end or at a customer end or a employee's end, entire chain, end to end, you will be able to see amazing operational efficiencies. Okay, then when operational efficiencies are done, automatically there's a organization starts benefiting. Either they make a lot of profits, or the society starts getting benefited, the country starts getting benefited, and the same profits can be either reinvested for a new products or some new innovative things, or give it back to your investors. They have invested so much money in your organization, right? Then data, right? Because once we start doing all this digital transformation, you collect a lot of data in various forms. Then look at the data. The data is now gold, right? It's a new oil. Everyone talks about data. So you start looking into it. That gives a lot of insights. Okay, what are my customers are asking, what time they are asking, where they are asking, many things. And then based on that, future course of action can be done. Without doing analysis, we will never be able to serve the customers. Okay, then that's how many companies lose the market, right? So as soon as the digital transformation is done, it's a kind of a win-win situation for customers, for employees, for suppliers, for the entire society. Okay, so it's kind of a win-win situation for everyone. Okay, so let's look at this. Once the digital transformation happens, I'm just giving you a snapshot of how the data is in what sectors of area. In each 60 seconds, really look into this one, how each of these, either on a Facebook or on Netflix or on a Google, on any of this, or e-commerce area, each 60 seconds, how this worldwide data is getting transacted. And as soon as this data is getting transacted, there are people, either we call it as bad people or people who wants to make money out of these kind of situations. They would like to hack your data. They would like to do some mischievous things and make bad money out of this one. So a lot of of security also comes into picture. So that's why we'll talk about digital transformation and cyber security. Both go hand in hand. Okay. So volume of data is definitely growing. Like 10 years back, the kind of data was, and the today data kind of data is there. Definitely that data is very valuable. That needs to be done analysis. And then based on that, future course of action can be done. And then variety of data, right? It's not just one type data. It's not just a product data. It's kind of a, you automatically get a customer profiling from where he's ordering, which place, which city, which time of the day, which time of the week or month. So extensive analysis can be done, then seasonal analysis can be done, and then your future course of action, like supplying that particular parts or solution or equipment, whatever customer needs it, deliver it whenever they want it. Okay, and then velocity, right? We talked about faster response to customer is very, very important. So the extensive analysis of data, then response to that, and then meet to the customer's requirement. So volume, variety, and velocity, these three V's plays a very critical role in your data analysis, okay, or the information what you have with you. And each information is a data, right? And it's in a digital format, and that can be converted into whatever the way it is required for an organization. So yeah, and have a look at it. These are very, we talked about three A's: anytime, anywhere, anytime, for anybody, and three V's. These are very, very important for any organization or for a person also. So as soon as the digital transformation happens, as we talked on a previous slide, the bad companies, bad people are there. So the cyber security plays a very, very key important role. And then how it impacts to an organization or to a country, right? Loss of data, productivity can happen. So companies always looking for, how can I protect my data? How can I make sure that whatever my customers are given information to me, I don't want that information to be lost, right? So you might have seen some of the examples where some companies are lost very critical information. Either it's Facebook, Target, or many companies, or some banks are lost very valuable information, and those companies, either they have been sued by the customers. So loss of data and productivity is very, very important. The sensitive data disclosure and IP theft that keeps happening. So we have to always look, the organization has to be prepared. Uh, and each organization will have thousands of different type of thefts, okay, and in a cybersecurity world, they have to be prepared always. It's not a one day job. It's not a one person's job. It's a end-to-end person. All the people in the organization have to keep information secured. It's everybody's job. It's not just one person who is managing firewalls or managing IT person. No, it's the CEO to the end person. Everybody's job is to protect the information. Then customer loss, right? As soon as, if you lose the customer's informations, uh, which company or which customer will come and buy things from an organization? So it has to be, the information has to be kept very secured way. And as soon as you lose customers, then the brand equity, it impacts on the brand, and as well as on the stock market. Companies lose lots of thousands, millions of dollars just because somebody has stolen our data, right? So every organization has to really look into it. How do they protect it? Make sure that every person is protecting it. And tools are the one thing, right? Definitely that plays a role, critical role, but every employee also plays a role. So every person is a critical link in this entire chain of security. So these are some of the slides which I thought I'll share with you. Some of these my thoughts. I have definitely referred some of the internet sites, and I have put some source of information. With that, I would like to open it for any thoughts any would like to share, or some of the questions we can definitely go from there.
Yeah, if anyone have any questions, they can raise their hands or put in the chat window.
Sure. I purposefully did not go into very technical. Going in technical doesn't make sense. For concepts and the overall giving information is much more important than the technical things. technical can be done, but yes, the concepts which are very, very important.
Right, sir. So we have one raised hand from Mahesh Kumawat.
Okay. Yeah, please go ahead.
Yeah, Mahesh, I've unmuted you.
Hello, Ramesh. Thank you very much for your it was nice session.
Thank
So
you.
actually, I would like to know that if we're going for the artificial intelligence, machine learning, and data science,
Mm-hmm.
so
Mm-hmm.
this digital transformation is a very what every data will be there.
Right.
So what's your thoughts about if the person is interested into the data science and the number of digital informations are stored into the data science? So uh, the cyber security is going to secure security will be provided on the data
Right.
side. But
Mm-hmm.
for what about the future prospects for this particular artificial intelligence and machine learning about the security prospects in
Sure.
digital?
Okay, excellent. Thank you, Mahesh, for asking this question. Good question. So look at this. During this coronavirus situation, in last 2-3 months, uh, many companies AI and ML programs or logics failed. Okay, because the situation has changed drastically. The customers what they wanted on a regular basis in a some season like summer, right? You need a lot of ACs, or you need a lot of people go out, do a lot of vacations. Travel companies, hotel industries, they were prepared for getting all customers ready for summer. But what happened? Their AI ML program completely failed because as soon as the lockdown happened, situation changed. So as soon as situation changed, the AI ML was not ready to accept that change. So AI ML is no doubt it really helps an organization to look into what is that they need to do so that they can serve better customers. Um, some tweakings were done by either by Amazon or by travel industry or hotel industry, and then they started doing a look at the way the requirement of masks have gone up. The order at Amazon, the either requirement of mask, requirement of a carom board, because a lot of families are sitting in home. What do they do actually? So the automatically the carom boards requirement went up, and in the previous AI ML it was never a part of that program logic, right? So that is how every organization has to be very quick in making sure that what is happening in surrounding environment and make a changes according to that one. Okay. uh, okay, so answer to your second question, future for this area, AI ML and data science, uh, there's a huge opportunity. I'll tell you why. Now thousands or millions of companies have already changed from paper format to digital format. Either it's their designs, drawings, or the way they were interacting with their customers. Either it's a banking industry, hotel industry, to anything, right? Or even to a Indian railway reservation system, right? 10 years back, I used to go and stand in a queue to book my ticket for my any travel. But nowadays I do not even go. Many of us do not go and stand there in a queue, right? So as soon as the information is at Indian Railways reservation system, and then the same data can be used to do either by leveraging AI ML or doing a lot of analysis on that, and then future course of action can be done. So like that, all the organizations are really looking into. Now they have a lot of data. What do they do that? They need to really look into all those data what they have, and then they will get a lot of insights, and then based on that, future course of actions. Either they need to scale up, they need to do a different way of business. Things will come out of that one, insights. So there's a huge opportunity in a data science area. So a lot of careers, no doubt. Okay. Even for cyber security world, the data science is being used extensively. Previously, the traditional way of doing a cyber security is, oh, okay, what kind of threats are coming to my organization? Someone was looking at a firewall rules, logs, and based on that, the person is applying making some changes. But nowadays, no. Lot of AI ML have been put in there, and automatic predictive analysis, and based on that, some things are getting fixed on the fly so that the company's information is protected. So data science is also used in a cybersecurity world to do a proper protection of information. So huge career, and for that everyone has to reinvest. I personally studying right now Python as one of the language so that I can do some analysis. I can leverage that to do my future things. Though I have been in the industry for almost like 25, 26 years now, I'm personally doing. So everyone has to learn it. If they do not learn it, they will not be surviving in another few years down the line. So a huge opportunity in a data science world.
Okay, thank you, sir.
Thank you, Mahesh. Thank you for asking question.
Thank you, sir. So we have another question from Dhiren Bhanushali.
Mm-hmm.
How can I learn tech plus business? I'm not a coder, but to work on ideation, should I go for a PG diploma in innovation or an MBA? I'm working professional and wish to have a transition into digital leadership.
Okay, very good actually. Good question. Thank you for asking this. Um, Really, for everyone, will have to really look into that which area they are interested. Okay, somebody is interested in art, somebody is interested in music, sports, or somebody is interested in this kind of world, right? So definitely it helps ideations, because if you want to be innovative, you have to have a solid background of how things. You should have a broader picture of how things are happening either in the industry or in the society or in an organization. So definitely the PGDBM in ideations or idea generations, that section will help in a longer term and or in a short term also. MBA generally will give you a broader picture of the entire organization or a society, either how the entire HR works, how the finance works, how the operations of the organizations works. That gives a broader picture. But these are specific postgraduate diplomas or specific. You can focus in that area and take your career forward. Yeah.
Okay. So we have another question from does organizations start their journey to digital transformation? And how much you believe that it is a reality as organizations have failed miserably? What is this? What is your definition of digital transformation? As I have seen that digital transformation seems to have different interpretations.
Right. Sure. Each organization will have to look into it. How can one is how they would like to survive for next 100 years. Okay, if any company wants to, I'll tell you my own company. Like I work for a John Deere, which is one of the world's biggest agriculture solution company in the world. Um, it's almost like 185 years old company. This company has gone through so many transformations. This company has seen both the world wars. This company has seen all kinds of these kind of pandemic situations. Either it was a 1908 Mexican flu or to any kind of things, right? So ours is into the agriculture solutions and construction industry. We have been transforming always, like every 10 years. We really looked into what is that is our customers are expecting, what is that in for next 10 years, what is that we need to do. And each organization does these kind of strategies, and whoever doesn't do these kind of strategies, whoever is not into innovative, they will not survive. So they will have to do an extensive SWOT analysis, which I talked previously. When they do a SWOT analysis, they really get into, oh, okay, what are the threats for my organization or for my products, right? How do I innovate? How do I make a new things so that I survive for next 100 years? So it's a challenging situation, but definitely each organization has to do it. And once they do it, then automatically they will get a directions. What can they do for next 10 years, 5 years, 3 years? They have to put together a path, and then they can do it. I have personally seen myself like digital transformation either in the society, which I talked about, Indian railway reservation system, or the banking sectors. When I started my career, I was going to bank on every Saturday to withdraw few rupees for my weekly survival or for monthly, right? But I now in last 10 years, I have never been into a bank to do any transaction because everything happens through online. So that's a kind of a digital transformation. So either it's a companies, banks, environment, society, countries will have to do a digital transformations, okay, which also talked on our previous slides. Um, the, now organizations really look into ERP, whoever has implemented ERP, which is like either SAP, BAN or Oracle Financials, they have seen a complete digital transformation in their end-to-end of their products. Okay, so there are many ways to do, and I just talked about a vegetable vendor in this coronavirus situations. That's also digital transformation, right? For that poor person who was supplying a vegetables, he was bringing vegetables from different people, coming and selling it, and he could not scale it. As soon as we helped him in these kind of situations, it's a complete transformation for him. He is able to supply to many customers, and he's able to get money online, and he doesn't have to collect money, and then he's avoiding all the physical transactions. So always look for opportunities to do a digital transformation. It could be within your home, it could be within your organization, could be in your society or in your country, and play a role and active role. Yeah, and always challenge the situation.
Right. So, what are the top 3 initiatives the government to support Indian companies to reduce the dependency on foreign technology that will help India to take the advantages of digital transformation? As of now, we are mostly dependent on foreign tech for digital transform. Just want to know your thoughts.
Sure, very good question, and thank you for asking this. Uh, I really salute to asking for these questions. Okay, now government is really focusing on how do we be self-sufficient. You might have heard our Prime Minister's speech about, he talked about Atmanirbhar. So either it is for the companies which are in the manufacturing world or service world, that is called the IT sectors world. Each organization is really looking into what can they do. Okay, if they're today any product which like in India we use Microsoft Word, Excel, PowerPoint, can we innovate something? Okay, so that we don't have to buy something from other countries and use it. Can we do it? So each organization now really focusing towards this one. And if you really look at the electronics policy of the government of India, either it's a manufacturing of mobile phones, TVs, or for any electronics parts, huge infrastructure. The government has put together infrastructure policies and the way forward for next 5 years, what they want to do in the electronics industry. So that is going to be complete digital transformations. If you really look into 5 years back, the kind of mobile phones which were imported in India or the kind of mobile phones which are manufactured in today, okay, there's a huge difference, right? So our country is really looking into towards that, and there is a clear guideline from the government. Policies are being set towards that one. Either you manufacture in India or innovate it in India, make a new product and sell it to the world. So either it's for electronics industry or manufacturing as well as, or even for IT world also. So all these three sectors, big time. Even the education sector, I heard some of the universities in India now, they are completely transforming into digital, and they have started giving some of the lectures or courses from India to other countries, either for the people in Dubai or in the European world or in US. So many people have started taking such courses. So huge opportunity in India right now, and we all should look into wherever we can pitch in and then go and do it. And government is definitely very supportive of this. A lot of policies are coming in this area to support the country.
Okay. What are the cyber security concerns to take care when we go with RPA in manufacturing?
Okay, that's a good question. Since we are also into the manufacturing world, when we deployed some of the RPA, either tools, systems, we have to always make sure that those are properly secured and proper usage of that. in the manufacturing, either on a shop floor, either those whatever the equipments or tools you are using for RPAs, those are on a regular basis looked at it multiple times by multiple people, how things are performing and what kind of results which are giving, and those informations are secured again. Either we use some beacons to control some of the internal traffics within our factory environment, and that was giving a lot of informations, and that RPA has helped us in getting the right information of how the material is flowing in the factory, and where are the waste areas, where the non-value-added activities are happening when the material was flowing, and then streamlining in that. Because of that, we could reduce some of the hardware equipments or the travel equipments within the factory environment. These RPAs plays a very, very critical role, and then making sure that those are secured and appropriate actions are done on a regular basis. It could be hourly, daily, weekly. That's how.
So can you suggest any instructions from where can we learn digital transformation?
Okay, there are many ways. You can, okay, now you don't have to really go to any physical institute and learn. Many of these things are available online. Like if you see that there is something called, now the way the students have started learning through Baiju, which is one of the education application like that. UADME is there, there's online university. And most of the universities now, either it's MIT, Massachusetts Institute of Technology, or Wharton University, or many of the universities are sponsoring online courses. You can learn those things and you can take it step by step. Like the way I'm learning Python sitting at my home, right? I'm not going to any institute like the way few years back we used to go to either NIT or some other institutes and go and learn. You can learn it at your place. I'm learning Python, and then I'm going to leverage that for my digital transformations wherever I want to use it. That one, I'm going to use it for my extensive data analysis and all that. Okay, and they're specifically under cybersecurity world. So I'm putting together a lot of logics, algorithms, which is going to help me in my area. So yeah, all the universities are available online. Please go ahead and subscribe to them. Fees are very small, not exorbitant fees, and then you can learn a lot sitting at your home. Yeah.
Okay. Sir, does digital transformation only means providing automated solutions to the business or giving them solutions that work on internet or mobile?
Okay, digital transformation actually, if you really look into it, it can be getting online, everything. It can be everything from paper format to all the designs into the electronic formats. It varies, right? The way you deliver it to your customer, like just a classic example, like the way previously you could order a book only through going to a library or to a bookshop. So converting all those into online ordering, now you can order it and you get a book to your home, or convert. Amazon went from beyond that to converting same book into a soft copy format, and it is available to customer wherever he is, for anybody at any place. So these 3 A's plays a critical role in digital transformations. So everyone should really look into these areas, and that's how the organization doing it, digital transformations.
So the next question is, what impact do you see of digital transformation on human health? Will it create social imbalance, stress on human?
Yes, there's a answer for this question is yes. There's a lot of stress on human being now, because lot of information is available to them at any given lie. Either somebody's on a WhatsApp or Facebook or something. Oh, okay, somebody's doing this one, somebody's doing that. Previously, getting that information only when you make a phone call or when you go and meet them, such information was available, right? But it's all, again, each person has to really look into it, what is right for him and then he or she should not get carried away by the what is happening for other person. Okay, so many times these the other persons are ready to share only the good things which are happening in the world for them. Tell me who would like to give their some of the bad situations happen to them, who would like to share, right? So these kind of these social uh, uh, applications which are there, either it's a WhatsApp, Facebook, or many other application, Instagram, we need to really see and leverage only what is absolutely required for us, and then leave it other things. And definitely it is causing a lot of stress on a human being right now. And it's every person has to really see what is required for him, because there's so much available. Okay, everything is available everywhere, for either for kids, for a person, for me, like for me, or for housewives, for people at all the ages. Lot of things are available in a digital format. It is only thing, each person has to be self-disciplined what is required for him, and he can access only that much is required for him. Okay, so it's a person specific also, but no doubt it is causing a lot of stress on human being.
So where do organizations start from, and what are the prerequisites before embarking on digital transformation?
Okay, a good question. Okay, the organization starts with, if you really look at their stakeholders, if you really look into it, their stakeholders are their customers, their employees, their suppliers, the entire bankers, investors. So they will have to really look into it. Each stakeholders, what are their expectations? What is my customer's expectations? What is my employees' expectations? Do you want all employees to work only in a in a manufacturing world? If you really see where there's a very complex welding structure, or in a where the steel is getting molded, do you want your employee to be working in that area? No, you would like to deploy some robots. You would like to deploy some automated way, so that you make improvement. So like that, organization starts looking at each stakeholder's expectations and make a digital transformation for each of those areas, for employees, for customers, for suppliers, for bankers or investors also. So they will have to, organization will have to really look into the holistic way, 360-degree, not just at looking at customers, not just looking at suppliers. It is for employees also, because if employees do not have, how much hard work they will do it, how much manual work employees will do it. They will have to really provided some kind of a good tools. It could be robots, could be anything, or Microsoft PowerPoint or Excel, so that you can make it, right? Otherwise, how much you can draw a chart on a paper and present to your management? No, not possible. So organization will have to really invest in all of these areas, so that there's operational efficiencies for an organization, so that they can make a profits and they can survive for next whatever years or generations. Yeah. So organization starts at all the areas, all the stakeholders. Yeah.
So is digital marketing the best success story for digital transformation?
Yes, that is also one of the very successful area, digital marketing, that has changed the way the products were being marketed previously, the way the products are being showcased to the customers, and that has really changed the way customer also is looking at a product. Okay, so 80-90% digital marketing has helped, but still customers sometimes she would like to have a touch and feel of the product. Okay, either it's if I order a shoe from Amazon, I would like to first see everything, 80-90%, and 10% once I order it, oh okay, it looks like doesn't fit, or the color what I see on the screen, or the color what I get it is different. So 90% definitely digital marketing has changed the world into digital transformation. 10% that will always remain, because human beings always feel like touch and feel, oh okay, how this car looks like. You will always do a knock on the product, right? If you really go to any store or anything, you first you will knock it and say, oh okay, this is how product looks like, or use it and see it. So the 10% always will remain that touch and feel. Otherwise, 90% digital marketing has changed digital transformation. Yeah.
What are the cybersecurity challenges one has to consider during the digital transformation?
Okay, cybersecurity challenges. So first of all, it starts from the every person in an organization. Okay, as I also talked previously, from a CEO level to the sweeper level. Okay, so the cybersecurity can happen at any level in the organizations, because for social engineering, some information can be leaked, and then after that, what happens? Just look into it. One classic case study in industry which is published extensively, the Bajaj, the scooters, they manufacture a lot of two-wheelers in the market. They wanted to go into a new market, which is like in a Brazilian market. They wanted to introduce their famous Dominar product. So someone leaked that information, either their supplier, their employee, or someone in their organizations, or somebody has hacked into their organizations and spoken about social engineering. And one company in China took that product's complete 3D design, and then that Chinese company introduced a product before the Bajaj could introduce a product in Brazil. So completely Bajaj lost the market, and they lost their revenues, their ideas, they lost it. So every organization has to really protect at all the levels in the organization, and it is not just tools. Tools will come definitely in the end, but the cybersecurity or the information has to be protected at all the levels in the organizations. And yeah, tools will help to identify the leakages. Either it could be firewall, could be a lot of AI ML kind of programs which will detect and predict what is going to happen or who is going to attack. But yes, information needs to be protected everywhere by anybody in the organization. Any person can be a weakest link in the organization.
Which organizations are fit for digital transformation?
Oh, very good question. Every organization is fit for digital transformation. Whoever doesn't do a digital transformation, very difficult to survive in this competitive world, because customer wants their changes have changed extensively. They want it at a very faster pace. They want to look and feel first, and then they would like to use it. So every organization has to have a digital transformation roadmap. Otherwise, they will not be surviving in a few years down the line. Okay.
Is there a way where timelines can be planned? And how is your digital transformations plan changed due to COVID-19?
Okay. Digital transformations timelines. Okay. Always organization, what they do is, if they want to do a digital transformation, first they will look into it, where they want to do it, which area they want to do it, and the bigger picture they will break it into a smaller sections, and each section is addressed with the appropriate timeline. So definitely it takes time, a lot of thinking, and a lot of involvement from top to down to make things happen. So digital transformation is not just a one person, one department, or one section of the team. Its entire organization has to really look into it. How do they want to do a digital transformation so that they can survive, they can serve to their customers properly, they can serve to their employees as well as to their investors and bankers. Okay. What was that next to that one, concern to that?
How is your digital transformation plan changed due to COVID-19?
Okay, very good question. Every organization went through this difficult situation, or every person also, right? Because of these lockdowns, many employees wanted to work from home, or organization want employees to work from home. How do they make sure that they're able to connect to their network, internal network of each company, and they're able to leverage their appropriate tools, systems? Many things could be done from work from home. Only the manufacturing sectors, they could not do many things sitting in their factories and all that. So employees, uh, yeah, our organization also went through that difficult situation to make sure that how do we provide laptops to them and then get them connected. Either it is through a VPN networks or through AWS, which is like Amazon Web Services. So these kind of things. And then when you provide those kind of things, you have to make sure that your data is getting appropriately encrypted end to end, making sure that nobody is hacking into your network or your data when employees work from home, and making sure that things are delivered to your customers if it is in a soft internet format or a soft copy format, whatever, right? So a lot of organizations, or almost all 100% of organizations, have gone through these difficult situations, making sure that their digital environment is working appropriately and they're able to serve to their customers. So we also went through that one, and it was not an easy one. Okay, so for that we were making sure that every day we were thinking what is that needs to be done, how things were yesterday, can we do some changes so that today I'm able to do better to my customer or for my employees, and make a changes. It's a day by day, week by week, not a month wise. We didn't know what was going to happen next week, so it was a day by day or a week by week. That is how many organizations and even we also did a planning, and we executed according to that one. And we were successful to 90-95%, not 100%, but yes, we were all 95% successful in many of the things. And many companies went through this difficult time, and they were prepared the way week by week also, not the whole month. Nobody knew what is going to happen future. Yeah.
Right. Is there any roadblocker or opportunities to digital transformation due to work from home?
First roadblock is the mindset of either employee or a person. Okay, work from home, how do I do it? Because many of us were never gone through work from home kind of situations. So everyone really, it was a tough time for them, because they have to work for home also, because your mates were not available. You have to support your family, and dividing your work, and then deliver what your customer or your manager is expecting, right? Difficult times were there, but yeah, even I personally went through those things, challenges, and I tried to divide my time in a day, so that I can give a time appropriate to my company as well as to my family, to society also. So yeah, this is kind of a balancing act needs to be done, and you can deliver it. But the main roadblock is mindset. If those mindsets are cleared, then many things can be conquered. Yeah.
Like how much time you want to give to how many things?
Like what was that? For which area?
So right, like road blocking. So you have to be in balance. You have to change a mindset that yeah, this much time you have to give to your personal life as well as your office work.
Right, as well as to the society also. It's not just for family also, right? You have to, you have all the things parameters. You are trying to support the society also, because like I give example of creating a Google Forms and helping vegetable vendor to, so that he can do it appropriately. That was a kind of contribution to society, or helping senior citizens who could not move out of their houses, who could not get a medicines from outside, or vegetables and all that. So we were kind of dividing our 24 hours into different times. Okay, morning 6 to 8 o'clock, I'll spend time with my family to make sure that things whatever is required. And then after 8 at 9 o'clock, up to one hour spend morning hours with the society, whatever I can do it from 9 to then 6:30, 7 o'clock, divide that time for office. Then again in the evening hours, either for family for 1 or 2 hours and 1 or 2 hours for society. But having a sufficient rest as well as breaks during all of this is very important, and enjoy whatever you're doing. If you're taking a lot of stress, then it's very difficult to give up 100% time either for family, for society, or for work. So we have to enjoy what we are doing. We'll be able to do it. Otherwise, it's a very, very stressful environment for everyone, for family also, for us also. Yeah. So that's how I worked out on many of my colleagues and my friends. They did it, that kind of things, and which has helped them to do a work from home in these kind of difficult situations.
Okay. So sir, the next question is, with legacy systems baggage, how difficult is digital transformation? What are the key steps that would enable such organizations to succeed?
Okay, very good question. A lot of legacy systems, if you really look into it, previously everything was in a paper format. Okay, many of the manufacturing companies, if you really see, their designs, drawings were in a paper format. Okay, and those were kind of legacy. Then later on, those needs to be converted back into the electronic formats. All the design drawings. Okay, so for a manufacturing company, for many of the other companies just I'll take example of airline industry. Extensively, still they use mainframes in the back end. Their major programs are in COBOL. Okay, uh, because that doesn't use too much of screen space, doesn't have too much of graphics, and the response time is very fast. Extensively, they use the mainframes and COBOL programs, but they have also started converting all those things, legacy systems, into the recent world which is required and a more graphical format, so that the customer is comfortable using what he has currently, right? Either that a phone or a tablet or a laptop or a PC, he can access those ticketing systems for airline industry. But in the back end, it's again the same mainframes and COBOL programs. But the front end, all the industries have changed. Either it's a banking industry or airline industry, or many of the manufacturing companies also have changed by leveraging digital transformations. Okay, either the tools, systems, new programs, new methods, they have done it. And now it's not digitally, so not only on a PC or a laptop. Customer wants to leverage either his phone or a tablet, so your all the programs should be fit into that those kind of equipments, as well as it's a secured, right? A lot of information is back and forth traveling between those phones, smartphones, or from tablets to the backend systems of each company. So a lot of security plays into role, making sure that those data is protected properly and appropriate control mechanisms are there.
Okay. So in the view of Data Protection Act, which is coming in India based on GDPR, will it be restriction on digital transformation growth of India? What impact do you see of this act?
Okay, very good question. Absolutely no roadblocks for India, okay, or for digital transformation. This is definitely going to change. Only that additional control mechanisms will come into. Okay, when I personally did GDPR study and many of the worldwide other countries, these kind of privacy acts and digital control acts, uh, 80 to 90% of control mechanisms are same. Okay, the intentions are same. Only that the way it needs to be done is the 10% difference which is there, that needs to be addressed country to country. Even in India, the Privacy Act, which I have personally done a study of that, and which is going to come into the Parliament is going to make a law out of that one. The 10% difference of against the GDPR or many other countries, that needs to be addressed, and each organization will definitely work towards that. And then it is not going to be a roadblock for digital transformation. It is definitely going to help to create a lot of jobs, to create a better roadmap for a company or for a person also. So it is going to really enable for a better protection of data of a citizen of our country, or information of our country. It is going to be enabler than a roadblock.
So the next question is, what is the security perspective in the infrastructure part of digital transformation?
Okay, security perspective, infrastructure world. It is not just infrastructure world, as I spoke previously, also repeated multiple times, that security or making sure that information or data is protected at all the levels in the organization, in all the formats. Okay, all the levels means it's a CO to the sweeper, as well as at in any formats. Okay, digital information needs to be protected. So digitally, either you put appropriate tools for that, either it's a firewalls or control mechanisms, then do extensive analysis of that. That's where AI, ML, and a lot of data science world is coming and playing a critical role in protecting those informations. So it's a huge world, no doubt, that is helping organizations to protect that information. But every organization has to really look into it. How can they be proactive than reactive? By the time you react, things are lost. Customer information is lost. Then why will they? Even the bankers or investors, they will lose a faith on the organization. So organization has to be on top and making sure that things are protected at all the levels in the organization. Yeah.
What are the changes required in telecom industry for digital transformation?
Okay, in the telecom world, definitely the everyday technology is changing so fast. Either it's 2G, 3G, 4G, 5G, 6G, which are coming up. They will have to either that will manage the traffic in the telecom world because the data is flowing. You have seen on one of the slides how much kind of data is flowing now compared to what it was a few years back, either 10 years, 20 years back. So telecom world has to change the way their network is being managed, the way their infrastructure is. They will have to upgrade either their backbone core structures, their bandwidths, their pipelines, either it's a fiber optic structures, those kind of things. They will have to change, and many organizations are doing it, and they are really doing it a SWOT analysis on that area, and then they are getting prepared for that. Now, like since the 5G is coming up, and already there's a lot of research organizations are working on 6G also. So these 5Gs will change the way you view the video or the way you download the movies on your mobile phones, laptops, or tablets. Things will change. So the telecom world is really working on it to serve all the customers like me, you and me. And yeah, they are really investing in a huge area. Either it could be Jio, or could be AT&T, could be Airtel. All the companies are really investing into those areas, or Vodafone. All the companies worldwide.
How to build the metric dashboard to showcase the intangible benefits, total cost of ownership, returns on investment on continuous basis?
Okay, these like one is the kind of investment which is being done, the like investment in a cash format, then the investment of people which they are doing to make sure that for this cybersecurity world, how it is being done, and then based on that, one kind of intangible benefits. I'll tell you one example. If 100 customers information is lost from my organization, what is the impact on that to me? One is no new customers will come, or the existing customers also will not buy from me, right? Because why will they buy? Because if I'm not able to protect their information, they will lose my confidence on me or my organization, right? And then making sure that those are protected properly, and yeah, that's how every organization will have to really look into that one. And then based on that, intangible benefits, we'll have to really see that, okay, if I'm able to protect my customers or my stakeholders information, automatically that will my stock market situation will improve, my brand equity will improve, confidence of my stakeholders will improve in my organizations. These are some of the intangible benefits every organization is putting together, and even we are putting together those kind of intangible benefits. And there's appropriate dashboards are designed where which are published for appropriate stakeholders, like for internal circulation, for internal company purpose. There's a type of dashboards for investors. We have to make sure that we have to show that how we are protecting a lot of people's information, so they have a proper confidence in us. There is a different kind of dashboards for them. Same information is put it in a different way. Okay, but yes, at various levels, various stakeholders, different kind of dashboards are created, and those are showcased to them. From a IT infrastructure world, some dashboards are getting automatically created because of the tools which are used, and but there are some information which are intangible benefits. Those are needs to be entered manually by certain employees in the organizations, and then those are showcased to the appropriate stakeholders. But yes, various dashboards are created and showcased to different stakeholders. Some are manual and some are automated. Automated, which are coming automatically from systems, and some are manual, which are done by the persons.
How the digital transformation ecosystem can be made secure from social engineering attacks?
Okay, social engineering is the biggest place where the information is leaked. Okay, like when I go to a parties or somebody calls me and says, okay, I would like to know this information from you, or do you know this friend? Do you know that friend's date of birth, or can you give me your wife's date of birth? And then based on some of these informations, this is called social engineering, and where a lot of information is gathered, and then many of your passwords can be hacked based on this. Okay, so extensive social engineering is done and the information gets leaked out of that one. So that is how we need to be very, very careful what we share with whom and when. Like if you go to anybody's Facebook, their profile, you get to know their date of birth, you get to know which place they live, who are their friends, and many things can be done based on that one, right? So we have to make sure that appropriate information is given to only the required people, not to the everyone. Okay. Yeah. Yes, social engineering is very important and needs to be protected.
So how and from where to get the data of analysis on digitization happened during this COVID-19 in India?
Okay, Government of India has put together a website to do an extensive data collections. Even the worldwide WHO has put together data collection points for various things. Okay, either the age group where it is infecting, the kind of countries, the kind of regions, the kind of climate. You can go to Government of India's websites, or you can go to WHO's website. You will get ton of informations, and either it's the kind of people existing, whatever infections they have or diseases they have, and what kind of people it has infected, or what kind of vegetarian, non-vegetarian age groups. Thousands of environment areas people have done data collections, and these informations are available at many countries government websites, and as well as WHO's websites, and you can leverage that data and then do analysis, and a lot of things can be put together, and you can do a lot of predictive analysis also. And a lot of these medical companies which are doing research on what kind of appropriate medicine they would like to provide. For that, they are leveraging this data, and based on that, they are creating an appropriate configuration of medicine so that it will be helpful for the people. Yeah.
Behind many digital innovation, we have seen India talent and brain, but India failed to stop brain drain of such talent. Do you see due to this we are lacking in digital transformation?
Answer is yes. And then yes, other countries have given a different opportunities to our people in India. So they have gone there, they have done a major contribution to that country or to that company. Either you look at Google or any of the companies, Microsoft or NASA, to any of the countries, any of the companies. Yes, the Indians have invested a lot, and they have been very innovative, creative. Brain drain has happened, no doubt. But now the country, our government of India is putting together a lot of policies for making sure that the right talent stays back in India. The appropriate opportunities are given to them. Either it's for the policies, you look at electronics policy, or for startups, right? The kind of support is being given to startups to do many things. Not just for manufacturing. You can do amazing startups, and then a lot of support from Government of India. Amazing policies are being done, and good talent is really investing in this area to make some product or a solution or services for our country or for worldwide. So things are changing now, and I am very optimistic that in another 5 years down the line, you will see that many products, solutions, or services will come out of India, which will serve to the world and not just for India. Yeah, this is really going to change the way our country operates, the way our talent is going to change our country. Huge investment being done from the government also.
Where do you see India in digital innovation?
Yeah, I spoke as about policies, what government is putting together, and the vision what our Prime Minister has for our country for digital transformations. So there's a huge roadmap is being developed, and as I said in my previous question, very optimistic that things are going to change few years down the line for the way our country's products, services, solutions, which will happen in India and serve to our customers in India as well as worldwide. So digital innovation is going to happen, and things will change. Even the way we operate, right? Look at the way the banking industry has changed 10 years back to now. So like that, many digital innovations are going to change the way we live also. It is going to change to the society, to the person, to the company, to the country also. Yeah.
So the last question which we have is, what are the opportunities in this field for freshers, and what should be our strategy and area of focus?
Can you repeat that question once again?
So what are the opportunities in this field for freshers in COVID-19 situation, and what should be our strategy and area of focus?
Okay, great. Excellent question. Thank you for asking this. Look at that. There's a huge opportunity for all the levels, not just for freshers, even for the people who are existing in the industry, who are already working. For them also huge opportunity in this digital transformation world. Like in my personal case, if you really see why I'm learning Python, I could have stopped, right? I could have stopped learning, but I'm also investing myself, relearning myself, okay, so that I'm accustomed to the new things which are happening in the environment, in the company, industry. So like that, huge opportunity in every area, every environment, okay. Either you can look at some of the organizations, or you can do yourself, like you can do yourself big startups. Thousands of startups are coming up in India to create a new creative or innovative product or services or solutions. Look at the government of India, some of the websites for startups. A lot of ideas are there. Attend some of the seminars, some of the online webinars where startups are coming up. Either go and look at NASSCOM seminars which are available online, free of cost. Go and read it, a lot of information, and then you can get ideas. How can you go and do some job in some companies, or you can start it on your own also, because huge opportunity for freshers also in this world right now. And because of this COVID-19 situations, yes, many organizations are in a difficult situations, no doubt. They themselves want to first survive in these difficult situations for next few months to almost a year or 2 years. They would like to survive, okay. They would like to make sure that things are stable. They are really not really looking into profits also, some companies, okay. So they would like to survive and then go forward from there. So they would like to have some innovative products or services from that company. So they are always looking for ideas from their own employees as well as from some external world. And that external world could be some startup, or if some fresher has some great idea, go and suggest to some companies or to me or to any other company. And why not? People are definitely really looking for survive and do better. So if you, for freshers, if because their mind is very fresh, no baggages, no legacies in their mind. So if some new ideas are there, please share with some of the companies or some of the known people in the where you know, or in a startup ideas, you can put it there on Government of India websites or NASSCOM, and then you can create yourself a new company instead of going and working for some other company. Huge opportunity. just have patience. We may not get a job today or tomorrow, but have patience and create those ideas and share with others. And various forums are there, and you will be able to see the results out of that one. Yeah.
So we have one more last questions. If anybody have any questions, they can put in the chat window. We have 10 more minutes with for this session with sir.
Sure.
As we always lags near finishing line, do you see the same is going to happen again?
It's always the last mile, okay, which is a difficult one. I will tell you my own personal experience when I do a marathon runs, either it's 10K, 10 kilometers, a half marathon or full marathons when I run, always the last kilometer, if it is a 10-kilometer when I run, the last 2 kilometers, or the half marathon when I do, last 2-3 kilometers, which are very, very difficult, because by the time you have invested a lot of your energy, lot of your ideas, money, whatever you call, okay, and then the last mile is very critical also, right? If you do not meet that last mile, if you do not achieve that, then it's not successful, right? The whole journey can go waste. So the last mile, you have to really look into how can you make a difference, how can you do something different so that you can survive in that last mile and be a successful at the end, either for while running or doing a marathon, or even attacking this coronavirus situation in India. Yes, we were very successful initially in that lockdown for 2 months. As soon as the unlock has happened, things are going up, right? Now look at the patients going up. So every person has to be very, very self-disciplined, making sure that they are following what they were doing it in lockdown situations. Things will become better. If we do not invest in that last mile, things won't be successful. It's my own personal experience in while running a marathon. The last 2 kilometers, amazing energy needs to be put in. Then only you will be able to achieve to the finish line. Otherwise, impossible to achieve that. So, a lot of efforts are required in last mile to make it successful. And everyone has to. If I take it my own, or if I take it a country, everyone has to put a lot of efforts to make it successful in that last mile.
Okay, so do we have any more questions?
Thank you for listening, and thank you for very good questions, all the team members which we have asked. If you have any thoughts, suggestions, questions, please feel free to send. My contact details are there with Mohini and all other team members. Feel free to send an email, and if you have some thoughts, yeah, please share. Why not? Okay. So collective wisdom is very important. It's not possible to do everything by one person. So collective wisdom, crowd wisdom is very, very important. To make anything successful in an organization, it's a teamwork. It's not a one person. A hero cannot do the complete successful in an organization, or a movie cannot be successful just because of one big person is there, right? Or one hero. No, it cannot work that way. It has to be complete teamwork. Then only things will become successful. That's why teamwork is very important. Crowd wisdom is very important. Okay. Hope all of you liked my couple of slides which I have shared with you, some of my thoughts, and many of these thoughts are my own based on my industry experience, and some of the things which some of my colleagues also helped me to put together some of these slides, their own thoughts. We have done some bounce back of some of these ideas, and then based on that I have put together these slides. Okay, so thank you to some of my colleagues who have helped me, some of my friends who have helped me putting together this complete thought so that I can share with you, and we all can learn from each other.
So very thank you, sir, from all our Cyberpret team to accept our invitation and coming despite of all your busy schedule and giving time and addressing our Cyberpret members.
Thank you very much. It was an amazing session. I personally liked all the questions, very innovative questions, and very insightful questions. Excellent. Very matured audience. Thank you for that. Excellent. Very good. And good luck to all of you. Stay safe and have patience. Okay. Things will happen. No doubt. Okay. We have to be patient and making sure that if we have some innovative ideas and go and discuss with some members and then make it happen. Okay. Thank you. Thank you very much. And have a nice day. Have a nice weekend. Enjoy and be self-disciplined in all the aspects, whatever you do, either study or protecting yourself or your family, or while working in the organizations or beyond. When you are on the road, self-discipline is very important. Okay. If everyone is self-disciplined, things will change automatically.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Everyone
Thank you,
for
everyone.
attending the session.
Bye.
Have a great day. Thank you.
Thank you. Bye.
Thank you.